Captain Zizka. Henry and I were just discussing Lord Capon. I'd love to know what brought you two together. Asylum is for those in distress, Captain. Hynek came to burn and pillage. I have quite different plans.
No.
But I assure you that I am now acting in the best interests of this country. And of King Wenceslas. Well, good or bad, I'm sure you have plenty to report. I received a report that von Bergov's banner is flying in the camp of my dear cousin Sigismund. I suppose you're wondering why your friend Hynek, also known as the Dry Devil, isn't here? Henry, where's Captain Zizka? It would be futile trying to explain to you the intricacies of the Luxembourg's dynastic politics. No offense intended. I applaud your art. The pen is mightier than the sword, but there are times when it's vice versa. Sir Peter, please, take care of our guests. So I assume the negotiations at Troski didn't go too smoothly. I wanted to talk to you about something else. Strong words coming from a man who earns his bread by killing merchants on the road. So what happened with von Bergov at Troski? Let me just explain that was what was called for in the situation.
And each of them has their own ideas about how to defend him. And who was giving Zizka orders? Do you know? And do you want to tell me anything else? Besides about Toth? Enough about Zizka. I also heard something about a pillory and poaching. What the hell did you and Sir Hans get up to? What information? Ah, yes. Hanush and Radzig mentioned some such person. They even foolishly let him go. Ah, that must have been a peculiar feeling for Lord Capon. But let's move on. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me? But you've nothing to be ashamed of. I think it's too much to expect anyone to hold their tongue under torture. But I don't know where you know him from. Von Berghoff refused to aid a nobleman in need. That seems pretty low for a man of his stature. On the contrary, it's all quite simple. I understand, but honestly, Lord Capon is now safer than you or I. That's true. Your mother was clearly a wise woman. And was he satisfied with that? That would make sense. He was always quite pig-headed. Yes. Well, it's actually quite heartening that some people still have such naive ideas about the world. As soon as it's possible, you can join a legation heading for Rattay. I'm sure you already want to go home. John of Liechtenstein, my court spy, I suppose you could say, has mysteriously fallen silent. Henry, what exactly did you tell them? Let's move on. I heard something about a pillory and poaching. What in God's name did you and Sir Hans get up to? In any case, are you sure there's nothing else you want to tell me? Who's he? If I could get them all together in one banquet hall, give them their fill of wine and venison, they'd come to an agreement on the spot. Time will tell. John went straight into the lion's den. He knew the risks. My court messenger and bearer of tidings, both good and bad, John of Liechtenstein, has mysteriously gone silent. So every piece of information I get now is precious. I must say, Henry, you've pleasantly surprised me. You can keep a cool head as the world around you burns. You'll make it far. So I've heard. But I'd be interested to know the details. By the way, you said you were in von Berghoff's dungeon, and I can imagine how they treated you there. The most sensible course now is to wait for the ransom demand. You didn't reveal anything important there by any chance? You were refused entry to Troski? Von Berghoff left a nobleman standing outside the gate? Nonetheless, I've heard you've had another proverb in Bohemia. Too many dogs means death for the hare. But there's one thing you're right about. I have a fair idea about what you got up to at Troski. Now, let's get to a more important question. Thank you for the news. You're free to go if you want. But I would be glad if you stayed at the fortress. Yes, of course, I've heard of Zizka before, and of his unconventional ways of supporting our king. It's been some time since our meeting in Ratai, and now you appear here by the side of a quite unexpected guest. Really, I have the opposite feeling. These days I seem to be completely in the dark. Bear in mind that my dear cousin, His Majesty King Wenceslas, has many supporters. If you wish to stay and help here, I'll be glad, of course. I need someone to escort my envoys, and you've proven yourself more than capable. You regard the pillory as just a bit of trouble. You must live a most unusual life. How did you prepare yourself? Tell me. Did you reveal anything? But you said you had time to think. So how was it, then? Of course, but there is a difference between disgrace for a commoner and for a lord chosen by God. I heard you ended up in von Berghoff's dungeon, and judging by the state you were in when you arrived, I expect they didn't treat you too well. I've had better liars than you fail to trick me. So tell me, what came out of those loose lips of yours? Very good. From what I've heard, he was a bandit and a cutthroat. There should be no dealings with his ilk. This is beyond the understanding of a common villager, lad. Got that? A noble thought. But you mustn't worry about Lord Capon. I'm sure von Berghoff has him trapped in a gilded cage. That's a pity. I would be very keen to know. That is truly unfortunate. Believe me, I didn't intend in the least to make such an insinuation. I certainly cannot, in truth. What you might consider to be a minor detail might be something of utmost importance. Truly, Zizka is loyal to Wenceslas, so he's no bandit or cutthroat, but a faithful servant of our king, carrying out resistance against his enemies.